Yo, what's up, guys? This is ENTP Nurture, and today we are going to type Bernie Sanders. Now, he's a very tough person to type, not because I cannot see his functions, it's because the conclusions that he has reached in terms of his political views. I don't know whether because of his type or because of his experience. I found an interview of him from 1988 and he's in this for like a long time. So the problem he's saying might actually be the problem. There might actually be a problem with the system. There might actually be a problem with this one person who's running the system, irrespective of what his type is. Objectively, this is the thing that's causing the problem. So I do not know he's so confident about this problem because of his type, because that's all he sees, or because of his experience. That's very hard to judge. So I was not really getting a read of his type because even though I could see the functions, I was like, is this like what, peacocking, savior, demon? No idea. So let me just tell the first coin that I like hit me on my face. This is all just bias, right? This is just my bias. The entire video is going to be my bias. SENI coin, and I did this mistake in Eddie Hall's class, where Eddie Hall was going after like people, or that's what I thought, but no, he was going after categories of people, and you see Bernie Sanders doing the same thing. He talks about like a category of people: the elderly, the young people, the wealthy people. You know what I mean? So he talks people in like he puts them in like categories. That's like very SENI thing, where it's just shoving people in like a category and stuff like that. I do see him double deciding during interviews. So I would also put DD. Also, observer, because he goes after like a healthcare system, the Medicare system. He has like good points too, but it's like the system. We need to change the system. You know, here he talks about that.
Quick question about the politics of this. The Democratic Party just benefited from a revolutionary response at the ballot box in winning 40 seats in the House. Right. In the Senate, the Democrats didn't do as well because of the structure of the way it works.
We had a lot of seats, that we had to defend.
Of course, but that's part of the structure of the way politics works. My question to you is, you talk about a revolution. You just had a revolution in 2018, essentially, and it was unable to get past the structural system in the Senate.
John, revolutions do not happen overnight. One of the revolutions that I am very proud of, it's not just that many of the ideas that we brought forth in 2016 are now supported by a strong majority of the American people. It's that we are getting more people, ordinary people, young people, participating in the political.
Boom, young people. It's like he has like these buckets of people that he's like targeting and improving their life. Even here, he talks about the elderly.
Change.
And they will no longer be private. It'll be a public system.
It'll be Medicare.
Right. So, I mean, you're adding 180 million people to Medicare, so that'll take a little doing.
Look, back in 1965, I think, Medicare was established. And everybody said, oh my God, it's impossible. This is communism. This is taking away everybody's freedom. Today, Medicare is a very popular program. Medicaid is a popular program. Yeah, so it's going to take an effort. But I think 2 points, John, on this issue. Number one, we as Americans have got to ask ourselves, how come every other major country guarantees health care to all people at far lower costs per capita than we do? That's number one. Number two, fundamental question. Is health care a human right or is it not? If you have the money, your kid is sick, you can get great health care. You don't have the money, your kid is sick, you're in trouble. Or you may go bankrupt after you come out.
So it's like he's just talking about, the observer problems, like might go bankrupt, boom, chaos, done. So even like below the observer, my guess is he's an EP. Okay. So this is what I'm like getting out of him. And every interviews I see, let's take a Joe Rogan, Bernie. Right, let's take Joe Rogan's and Bernie Sanders interview. It's like
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Okay, let's talk about the education, because the idea of free education is a wonderful thing for people. I mean, the idea that you get out of college and you're in debt in an insane amount that you might have 10, 20 years where you have to pay it back. And I know many people that are in that situation.
Joe, there are people who are getting their Social Security checks garnished right now. It's not 10 or 20 years. In some cases, it's literally a lifetime.
Now, a lot of that is, I mean, it's got to in some way be preventable by what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. All right. And
is that how you would pay for it? I mean, how would you?
I'll tell you exactly how we'd pay for it. Okay. And we pay for every idea that we have. We pay for it.
Boom. Here is going after the education system. It's like, it screams observer to me, but don't know whether he concluded because of like a life discovery or it's just like an obvious thing. Boom. Education, healthcare,
And we pay for it by understanding that today we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality. And we have, in many cases, the wealthy and large corporations paying nothing or very little in taxes. Here is the issue in terms of education. 40, 50 years.
Even here he categorizes like the wealthy people, the corporations, boom, like buckets.
Years ago, you were an average American working class person. You graduated high school. Especially if there was a union around, you can go out and get a job and make it into the middle class. You could own your own home. You could send your kids to school. You lived a pretty good life. You made it in the middle class. 40 or 50 years later, there's an explosion of technology. There's a growth in unfettered free trade. And it is clear now that most people, to make it into the middle class, are going to need a higher education. That's college, or maybe it's technical training in order to become a skilled worker. It is insane to me to deny working class people and lower income people the opportunity to get that education because the cost of college has soared. So all that I say is that 100 plus years ago, the American people said that we should have free public education. I went to a public school. My parents didn't pay a nickel. Went to kindergarten. I went through the 12th grade. Pretty good education in Brooklyn, New York. All that I'm saying is the world has changed. And a high school degree is not good enough anymore. So expand that concept through college. Now, guess what? 50 years ago, do you know how much the University of California, a very great university, cost?
See, even here is going after the university.
In terms of tuition?
How much?
Virtually free.
What's it now?
I don't know, but it's pretty high. It is high. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. So you had great universities like the University of California, City University of New York, state people, $50,000, $100,000 for going to college or getting a Wall Street 11 years ago. And by the way, these are crooks on Wall Street who engaged in illegal.
Crooks on Wall Street guys, bad guys. It's not like going after like a specific person. It's just going like a group of people.
Behavior.
This is exactly what Eddie Hall also used to do. So I'm very suspicious about NI, this thing. Observer, EP, super doubtful. I see EP is like, but
taxpayers
doubtful.
Against my vote, bail them out. If we can bail out Wall Street, you know what? We can cancel student debt and provide public colleges and universities tuition free.
When you say a tax, if you go bankrupt,
which was passed against my vote, that they will start garnishing, taking away my Social Security checks, taking money away from me. So people are carrying this burden, garnishing, taking away my Social Security check. And I fear very much, which is the case, that they will start garnishing, taking away my Social Security checks, taking money away from me. So people are carrying this burden. The result is that they can't, in many cases, get married and have kids. They certainly can't buy a home. They can't buy a car. They are really crushed by this debt. And what was their crime? What did they do? They tried to get a higher education. I think that's pretty crazy.
And a lot of them, when they do.
So this is my view on Bernie Sanders. Is like going after categories of people which might be like a demon, and I think seems to be double deciding. Like when he's talking about specific people, he doesn't seem to have like much problem. But he like goes after like group of people. Wall Street, bad. Wealthy people, too much money. Elderly, healthcare. You know what I mean? EP, I don't know much, but I see EP more than IJ. It's all this controlling. They are controlling me, bro. Stuff. So that's it for this video. Let me know in comments below how did your experience with Bernie Sanders typing go, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.